Good morning, Ross. Thanks very much for being a guest on the Guitar Coach podcast this morning.
Yeah, morning, Richard. It's nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
How are you doing this morning?
Very well. Yeah, I was up quite early. It's actually an unusually beautiful morning in Edinburgh, so I decided to take advantage of the nice weather and go for a morning walk before it inevitably disappears. So yeah, it's been a very chill, relaxed morning. How's yours been?
Yes, it's good, thank you, mate. I haven't done a walk yet. I'm yet to do that, but I'm planning to do it a bit later. But did make an effort to go to the gym this morning. So,
Brilliant.
which I'm quite excited to talk to you about later because I know we got like a common interest on that. So,
Absolutely.
as well as guitar, obviously we talk about that, but that's important. But I'd like to talk to you a bit about the gym as well because that'd be quite interesting. And
Yeah, for sure.
I think you're the first guest I've talked to about sort of training in the gym and things like that. So it'd be quite interesting to do.
Okay, great.
Awesome. So based in Edinburgh, is that right? Have you always lived in Edinburgh, or?
Not always, no. So I grew up, I was born in Livingston, and I originally grew up in a town called Linlithgow, which is in an area of Scotland called West Lothian. And when I was 10 years old, me and my family, we moved to a place called Orkney, to a town called Stromness. So the Orkney Islands, if you don't know, or anyone watching, um, Orkney Islands are just, they're part of Scotland. They're, if you're from Orkney, you're Scottish, but they are a group of islands off the north coast of Scotland, below Shetland, basically. So very remote, very beautiful place. I grew up there, went through high school there, and I moved to Edinburgh when I was 17 years old to study guitar at university. And so that was, yeah, approaching 10 years ago now. And I've been based in Edinburgh ever since.
What uni was that? Well, Ross, what was it?
I was Edinburgh Napier University that I went to.
Ah, so my wife keeps banging on to me about Edinburgh because she went there for a hen do, um, and she keeps saying it's a beautiful place to visit. We need to go, so it's on the list of places that we haven't ticked off to go together yet. But she keeps saying it's such like Scotland's such a beautiful place to visit. So
Yeah, Edinburgh is a very beautiful city. And yeah, Scotland in general. I feel bad. There's a lot of parts of my country that I've 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 been meaning to visit forever. I feel like I should have seen more of it by now. Um, but one day I'd like to get around to doing things like there's a drive you can do called the North Coast 500,
okay.
which takes you all around like some of the most beautiful parts of Scotland. Some of my friends have done it before and told me I should do it as well. Um, I don't know when I'll get around to doing it, but yeah, I feel bad for not having seen more of my country.
Ross, just for anyone who's watching, who may not have come across your content and stuff, because that's how I came across you. Really, it sort of come up in my suggested many. I think it was quite a while ago now. I've been following you for a little while on your reels that you do on Instagram,
Mm-hmm.
which I think you're up there with some of the best sort of educators and content creators on Instagram and YouTube as well. I think you've got something like over 100,000 subscribers. Or followers on Instagram, I think, and then you've got over 100. I think you've got nearly 200,000 or something on YouTube. Following your content, which for people watching it, could you just explain like what you do as a guitarist and educator?
Absolutely. Well, first off, thank you for the kind words. Yeah, so I've been teaching guitar online now for I think approaching 6 years. So after I graduated from uni, I I had this guitar course that I'd made that was my final project, for my final year at university. Fortunately, we had free reign to create whatever we wanted as our final big project, for the degree. So I decided to make something that I thought I could potentially make money from after graduating, because one of the best pieces of advice I ever got from one of my guitar teachers at university was, he told me this when I was 17 or 18 years old, and I didn't act on it right away, but it was in my mind throughout my time at uni. He said you need to think about how you can start making money from music now, not when you leave. So when I was approaching my final year and I had free reign to do this final project, I thought, right, let's do something that I can generate income with, potentially after graduating. So I had this guitar course that was ready to go. I didn't really have any any real following on social media at that point. I had started my YouTube channel in 2010, and I just very intermittently uploaded covers of Bring Me the Horizon, Lamb of God, but also like Daft Punk songs, just anything that like I felt inspired to make a cover of at the time. I would just very, very intermittently post covers of. So I had, I don't know, maybe 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, but when you have 1,000 subscribers on YouTube in the beginning, it almost feels as though that number might as well be zero, because the engagement is still very low at that stage. So that was where I was at with social media when I graduated from university. I maybe had a few thousand on Instagram as well, but again, I was uploading very, very. I wasn't uploading consistently on Instagram at that point. I was just starting to test the platform out, I suppose.
Yeah.
And so once I had graduated and I had this course, I'd left uni, and I was making money from music at the time. I was in a wedding band. And so I'm aware I'm probably answering like so many questions that you
Great.
might
That's great, mate.
ask in the process. But yeah, I'll try and keep it on the tracks of YouTube and Instagram and all that. Anyway, I'd been generating some income through doing wedding gigs that summer that I left uni. But as I'm sure you'll know, and maybe some people watching this who have done wedding band work in the UK, it's very much a summer job, and the gigs really drop off, and there's this void in your calendar after October. So I was making money that summer. I'd put out the guitar course on Udemy, which is like a third-party learning platform, which was great to start out with. And the first month of sales, like I don't know, it was just a little bit of an extra additional income, but it wasn't enough to live off by any means. And when I'd release this course, I started to take my YouTube channel a bit more seriously, and I was looking at people like Tyler Larson from Music Is Win, and looking at the way he built a business for himself by doing a very similar thing, you know, releasing a guitar course also on Udemy and promoting that with free guitar lessons. So I started doing that. I started uploading lessons to my YouTube channel about John Mayer and Jimi Hendrix, and I would try and relate those free lessons to parts of the course that I had for sale. So that was ticking along. I was getting, I don't know, 500, 1,000 views here or there. And I tell you what, you know, the first time you get a 1,000 views on a video when you have like no real following, I think that feels better than having hundreds of thousands of followers now and getting maybe 10,000 views on a video. Anyway, where was I? So yeah, I was doing the wedding band stuff. I was working on the YouTube channel, trying to build that up so I could sell more courses. And it got to around October time, which is, as I just said, is kind of the time of year where the wedding band gigs drop off and there's no income coming in from music. And I was starting to panic a little bit because I knew I was going to run out of money at some point. And so just when I sat down and thought to myself, right, I'm going to have to put together a CV and get a bar job or work in a restaurant or something. You know, I'd done plenty of those jobs throughout uni, but I'd kind of sworn to myself that I never would do one of them again when I left. But now it looked as though I was going to have to accept that as a reality. And just when I was starting to seriously consider doing that, miraculously, one of the lessons that I posted to my YouTube channel just started to take off for whatever reason. It was it's still on my YouTube channel now. It was called the John Mayer 7th. It got about 80,000 views in a week, which was mind-blowing to me at the time because I'd only ever had videos do, you know, like I said, 500 views, 1,000 views here or there. Like 1,000 views was really the peak of what I'd experienced at that point. So to go from that to just having one that soared to 80,000 in a week, and and getting all these new subscribers and comments on a daily basis. It was really overwhelming in a good way. And as a consequence of that, of all this traffic that I was getting, because I had very deliberately mentioned in that free lesson, oh, by the way, if you want to learn more about this topic, actually delve into triads or the major scale or whatever it was that was the focus of that lesson. I dive into that deeper in this course that I have available, and it's very affordable and blah, blah, blah. Here's the link. And I started seeing all these sales come in, like I said, very miraculously, because it was right at the time when I just sat down to seriously think about getting a part-time service industry job. And all of a sudden I was like, maybe I can just push back writing the CV for another month, and we'll see how this plays out. We'll see if I can keep the ball rolling. And so ever since then, that's all I've really done with my life in terms of my music career thus far. I've continued to sell online courses. I've continued to make free content on YouTube, and now in more recent months, I've put more of a focus on Instagram as well. And yeah, that's essentially it. I've been driving my organic traffic that I've accumulated on mainly YouTube and Instagram, sort of now TikTok as well. I've just spent all my time directing that organic traffic towards my paid content.
That's amazing. I mean, it seems to me like at that point where you were sort of thinking about getting a bar job, I don't know, maybe it's life's way of showing you not to do that, because it's amazing at the same sort of time that took off. Your course started to take off in the YouTube video, and it pulled you in a different direction, which is, it's happened to me. That's the reason I said it. It's like in a few times things have come to an end and you think, oh, okay, right, what am I going to do now? And then some opportunity comes up and something happens and you're like, right, okay. Well, you start considering other like avenues. Like I said before on this podcast that I looked at maybe being a policeman or something like that, going down a different role completely, and then something crops up and I'm like, which is music based, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is what I should be doing then. I don't know if you've had that before, but it seems like a really sort of strange sort of situation. But
I have been thinking about that quite deeply, actually, in recent weeks. Just how strange it is, how just to add on to what you said there, or to echo what you said rather, how these doors seem to open at the times that they do, and it in some ways it feels as though these things are meant to happen, and
yeah,
you can never know if they are, if things are predetermined or not. But I was actually thinking about that recently with regards to when I first actually got introduced to the guitar. Like I was someone who picked up the guitar because my family, we were on holiday in a place called Scotland called Aviemore when I was 9 years old, and we rented a DVD of School of Rock, you know, the Jack Black movie.
yeah,
And I watched that movie, and I instantly knew that like that was the pinpoint moment for me that I knew I wanted to play guitar. Because you know, when you're a kid, you watch movies and you want to be the characters in the movies. Like you watch Men in Black and you want to be them, but you know, that's not attainable. And when I saw School of Rock and I saw the kid at the end like ripping a guitar solo on a flying V, I was like, oh, that's something I could actually do. And I said I've been thinking about that a lot recently, quite introspectively. I've just been thinking, why was it that was the thing that drove me to take action to ask my parents for a guitar
yeah,
for Christmas that year? Like, why was it that? Like, I'd heard music before. I'd heard guitar solos on radio. I remember seeing Velvet Revolver do, I think they did Live Aid in like 2004 or something. I remember seeing Slash on TV, and Slash is now one of he became my original guitar hero. But at the time when I saw him on TV, I didn't really think anything of it. And then for whatever reason, we saw School of Rock, and everything clicked for me. And now I absolutely love that style of music. So yeah, I think about that a lot, just how these doors open for us, and things get introduced into our lives and click at the moment they do for whatever reason. I find that quite interesting.
yeah. I mean, it is. I've heard I've spoke to other musicians as well, and they've said similar things where sort of when at the points where they've sort of thought, right, okay, you know, and I've got to pay my mortgage, I've got to do this, and this, and something's come to an end, and you're thinking, right, financially, I need to do something else. You start looking at different roles and, you know, potentially different avenues of work, and then all of a sudden something drops at the door. And my wife says to me that I always land on my feet. I'm like a cat, she says. But it's like, all she means by that is that when something comes to an end, like something, you know, I think you can create your own luck in a way, but it does sort of, other doors do open up in bands that have come to an end in previous years, and wedding bands and things after a long time. Another door, I've been thinking, okay, what am I going to do now? Like that was big income for me. What will I do next? And then another door, another avenue opens up, which is always seems to sort of happen. Maybe that luck will run out at some point. I do say that to her. I said, you never know. That luck might run out. But it sounds like you sort of experienced the same sort of similar sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I also, I too feel like I always seem to land on my feet somehow. And on luck, you know, people always say it's preparation meets opportunities, and that is true. You know, the more work you put in, and you know, the more likely you are to find yourself in situations that will, you know, gratefully benefit and change your life for the better. But still, there are just some things that I feel just can't be explained, and that do just feel like dumb luck.
Yeah,
So
yeah. There's a video I want to talk to you about. Actually, you did recently. You released it, and it was really. I found it really interesting. It was about practice, and you were saying about maybe you can explain as well to people who've maybe not seen that video. But you were saying about practice, and that, you know, over the years you've been really strict with your practice to the point where you'd stopped enjoying practicing.
mm,
And you were saying, I think the video title was something like "I'm stopping practicing" or something like that.
yeah,
Do you remember that video? You did it. It was recently. I saw it pop up, and I watched the whole thing through.
yeah,
I thought it resonated a lot. You know, I've been playing for, I don't know now, 20, 25, 24 years, something like that. Probably similar to something like you, I suspect. And yeah, it really resonated what you said. So if anyone's watching, could you just explain that sort of the context of that video? It was really interesting.
sure. So I think the title was. Let me actually just check on YouTube. I want to get this right.
I'm guessing that video did well. I'd have thought it would have done because it really caught my attention, that one.
It it's yeah, it did pretty well. It came right after one that really did well in terms of views and engagement. So it kind of rode the wave of that one.
Yes.
The title is "Why I've Given Up Making Guitar Progress in 2023."
Yes.
And then I've got a very clickbaity thumbnail that says "I am done," and it's got a heartbreak emoji and a guitar. So yeah, the topic of that video was basically me admitting something that I'd contemplating whether or not I should admit publicly on my social media channels for a long time. And it was basically the fact that I've known for a long time now that ever since I left uni, my relationship with playing the guitar has really changed for the worse. Like I've really fallen out of love with playing guitar, practicing guitar, playing live, enjoying music in general. And I think that's a consequence of always picking up the guitar and always and only picking up the guitar with the purpose and intention of this is a tool that I use to make money with now, and that's all. I think I could have avoided this if I had left uni, done the YouTube thing, done everything the same, but also focused on getting myself involved in musical projects that had no tie to making money, that were just for the sake of getting joy out of playing music. And what I mean by that, if I'm not being clear, is going out and playing live or with bands that just play the kind of music that I wanted to be playing. Because I was out playing live, as I said, I was in a wedding band for a while, but that kind of those kinds of gigs are not really, they don't really feed your soul. You know, you're always, I enjoyed some of the songs that we played in the sets that we had in that band, and I enjoyed some of the gigs a lot. But most of it is you're there for 4 hours playing to a room of people who aren't really, they're not there to see you, obviously, nor should they be, but you're not the focus of attention. They're not looking at you. It's kind of like you're a background decoration in this party, and it, in some ways, it feels like you're doing a paid rehearsal. And so you kind of just go on and you're playing the same songs, the same like 40 to 60 song set every single weekend, you know, summer after summer. And you just get to this point where you're really on autopilot when you're playing guitar, and you're not, I don't know, you're not able to like lose yourself in the music at all. It just feels very robotic. And so, and don't get me wrong, like it can be a good way to make money as well. But my mistake was only focusing on that and then selling courses and making YouTube lessons. And don't get me wrong, I absolutely love the freedom that this career choice and lifestyle has given me over the years. But I have, in a way, broken my relationship with the guitar in a big way, and so I'm now trying to repair that, because I actually talk about this a lot with other musician friends. And you know, I talk about the fact that when I walk into a guitar shop now, it's nothing like the feeling that I would get when I would walk into a guitar shop when I was 12, 15, 16 years old. I'd look in and I'd walk in and think, oh my God, look at all of this. Like, I want to try every single guitar in this place. This is so cool. Compared to now, when I walk into a guitar shop, I'm just like, these are just tools. I don't care. Like, they might look nice and I might try out a couple, but it's not like that kid in a candy shop feeling. And of course, I think part of that is just getting older, but I do feel like it's possible for me to get back to that place where guitar is like my number one source of joy, rather than something that I feel like I have to just like, it's like a skill that I have to maintain for the sake of money. So I'm not giving up on the idea of that I can get back to that place mentally with guitar. But the topic of that video was very much centered around this problem that I've been trying to work my way through, which is, yeah, like I said already, the fact that I've just kind of fallen out of love with playing guitar. And so more specifically, that I think the video talked about how when I picked up the guitar to go through a practice session, I would design these practice sessions in a way so that I would go through them and mentally be thinking, like, I'm doing this so that I can be a better guitar player in the future, as opposed to enjoy the skills that I've worked hard to acquire for the past 17 years. Like, I'm always preparing myself to impress people at a future date, rather than just enjoy playing guitar for me now in the present moment. And I think that's a common theme in all parts of life, really. I heard this on a podcast that I was listening to this morning, actually, that the idea that we go through primary or elementary school to prepare for high school, and then you go through high school to prepare for university, and then you go through university to prepare for getting a job, and then you get the job and you work so you can go on vacation, and then you do the vacation so you can enjoy working again, and all this. And that's kind of how I feel with my guitar playing. It's like, I'm only practicing now so that I can enjoy playing it in the future.
Yes.
But there is no future. It's just, everything's just now. And so I have to work on myself and look deeply at ways in which I can heal my relationship with the guitar. And so in the video, I talked about how I I'd been going, like, gritting my teeth through these practice sessions that I knew I wasn't enjoying for weeks on end. And then one day I said to myself, this isn't working. You're not enjoying this. Like, you haven't enjoyed any of the time that you've had the guitar in your hands for the past few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you just try having some fun instead? And so I went on Spotify and I came across some music by the Meters, and I forget which specific song it was, but I just heard this like nice little funky like wah wah riff, and it was very very simple music that I was listening to. It wasn't technically challenging by any means, but I thought to myself, oh, you've heard that riff before. You've never tried learning it. Why don't you just try learning it now? And so I got my wah pedal out, plugged it in, and started jamming along to the song. And after a few minutes of just playing through a simple song, I realized I hadn't been thinking, oh, you're doing this to get better, or I hadn't really been thinking at all. I was just enjoying the moment. I was just enjoying playing the guitar in that present moment. And I wasn't thinking about, like, there was no timer, that was going to go off to say, like, that's the end of your practice session, like, put the guitar down. Like, I was like, I had a realization of it. I had this realization of thinking, wow, like, I don't actually want to put the guitar down. I actually want to continue learning more songs by these guys. And so I did that. And yeah, since then I've not really put myself through any rigorous practice routine that was always designed with the intention of just going through it to enjoy playing guitar as a better version of myself at a future date. And this is quite recent. Maybe I think I posted that a month or two ago now. So it's still very much something that I'm working through. I've even experimented with this past week, not touching the guitar at all.
Okay.
And trying to completely reset my desire to pick it up. So this is something that is going to take me a long time to heal, I think, but I'm not prepared to give up on getting back to that place where the guitar is the number one source of joy in my life. So yeah, and now I was about to say in a nutshell, that's what that video is about, but that wasn't a nutshell at all. That was like 20 minutes.
It's really insightful though, mate, and that a lot of that resonates with not just me. I'm sure that with musicians that are professional musicians, been doing this a very long time, or even not professionals doing it as a hobby or whatever, but been doing it a very long time from a young age. What you've just said then, like, resonates. The story you just told resonates with, I'm sure, a lot of us. And I'm sure, like, people watching this, if you have any comments or any questions you want to ask Ross, then please do. But yeah, honestly, like that really did sort of I was really intently listening to the whole of that, because that did resonate with me a lot as well. I have been doing this a long time, like yourself, since I was 8. And yeah, I don't walk into a music shop anymore and go, that excitement, that little like butterflies in the stomach thing when you look on the wall and see all the Les Pauls, all the Strats, all the everything, Ibanez, all the guitars on the wall. And it'd be exciting, as you said. You'd walk in, you'd be like, I want to try all these guitars before I go. I'm going to potentially walk out with something, maybe, I don't know. That's gone for me as well. I don't get excited about like guitars anymore. Students bring new guitars here, and I'm like, oh, it feels great. It feels a lovely, really cool guitar. Like, really like that. But just yeah, it doesn't excite me anymore. And it's, as you said, it becomes a tool of the trade, and you're just using it to get a job done, sort of thing. So yeah, I'm in a very similar boat to you in terms of trying to get that sort of re-spark that sort of love for the guitar, and doing a similar thing to what you said. Really, I am just playing for fun. Pop on backing track, pop on a song that I've never learned, work out the riff, work out the solo, whatever it may be, and just playing for fun. Not sat there. I've done it before, and I sit there with it. It doesn't work for me. And as you said, like, sit with a rigid practice plan, saying, right, 10, 15 minutes of doing this, and then I'm doing this, and then to put the metronome on, I'm doing this. That doesn't work for me. I get bored very quickly with that. So, but yeah, in a very similar situation. So it's nice to talk to somebody, who's sort of in the same sort of, same boat, I suppose. But
yeah, I mean, it's I'm glad to hear that resonates with you. I mean, I am, and I'm not, because I don't want someone to have a poor relationship with a guitar, but it's it's just nice to know that you're not alone in this feeling. And overall, the response that I got from this video was very much what you said. A lot of people just resonated with it and found it to be something that was important for them to hear at the time. There were also a sprinkling of comments that were like, someone said, "Oh, I'm unsubscribing from your channel if you've given up on making progress on guitar." And I'm like, "Oh, mate, you didn't even watch the video. If that's what you took away from actually watching and listening to every word that I said, I think you had the volume down. Like, I don't understand how you could take that away from that. But people are gonna feel the way they feel, and I can't really control that. But yeah, I do think this is I don't think this will be the only video I make on the topic. I think it would be good and beneficial for others if I can document more of this experience as I work on fixing my relationship with the guitar. I think the way things are going with social media and Instagram and TikTok in particular now, like more and more players are going to start picking up the guitar because they want followers or because they want money or something like that.
I agree. Yeah.
And so it's kind of worrying to think about. So if I can put out any wisdom regarding my own experience and showing people this is what I did wrong, don't do this if you want to have a good relationship with the guitar, if I can do that, then I think that's going to be, I would hope that can help people. Something that I would like to add is that I think I can actually get back to a point where I do enjoy like a rigorous practice routine, schedule, whatever you want to call it, because I really enjoyed doing that when I was in my first few years at uni. Like I would sit down with like a very detailed list of things that I wanted to cover, and I would just spend hours after hours after hours going through these practice routines, because I was aware at the time when I was at uni that once I graduated, I would probably never have that freedom of time to just spend practicing guitar. But once my relationship with instrument changed after leaving uni, that really prevented me from being able to enjoy any sort of practice routine. So I'm not advocating against practice routines. I think they work for some people. They, you'll know yourself if it's something that can work for you or not. Rhett Shaw, actually, he posted a video about how he's never been able to sit down and put himself through a routine.
I watched that as well. I saw that video.
Yeah, I thought that was quite an insightful one, and it changed my, or expanded my view of how other people can make progress on the guitar. Because I think he was talking about that he had ADHD.
Yes, he's right.
Yeah, I was right. So that was obviously a big part of why he wasn't able to sit down and go through a routine. And so yeah, it's just different things that work for different players, I suppose.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. And I think a lot of it as well, just going back to what you're saying, is when you make this your job, when you make this now, it's gone from sort of when we were that age, like you said, I think you said you were 8 or 9, was it? You started?
I was 10 when I got the first guitar. Yeah.
Okay, so when you were 10, when you were 10, like that's, you're inspired by watching School of Rock video, and at that age, it was a hobby, wasn't it? Like it was a fun thing to do. It was a hobby. You loved doing it. The point where it transitions into now it's a job and it's work. I feel somewhere along the line that's the responsible for me. That's the reason where things have all changed. Where like I was doing it for enjoyment. I was just loving the guitar, and then now I have to do it to pay a mortgage or whatever it is, or to pay the bills and make a living. And I still play in a wedding band now. I was interested to ask you if do you still dep for bands at all, or if you sort of taken a step back from that because it's really sort of, you found it's ground you down a bit?
I took a step back from it. I left my wedding band that I'd been in for 2 years. I think my last actual gig as a member was New Year's Eve 2019. So
that's a good gig to go out on a New Year's Eve.
yeah. I mean, with the way 2020 went, I didn't really need to decide to leave at that point. It would have just ended anyway. But Yeah, I did my last gig as a member right at the end of 2019. And so since then, I have done depth gigs, but I'm very selective with the types of depth gigs I do. I'll only do it with bands that are friends of mine, really. I'm not interested in getting a text from, oh, so and so gave me your number. We need a depth to drive to Aberdeen tonight. It's it's 200 quid, blah blah blah. If I don't know the people, I'm not going to do that. I'll just I'm fortunate to be in a position where I can be fortunate. Sorry, fortunate to be in a position where my income is not really tied to live work so much anymore. It's mostly the online work. So I'm fortunate to be in a position where I can be selective with the types of depth gigs that I do. But even when it is friends offering me gigs these days, I am still like, I'm not really that fussed about dipping my toes back into that world, because it was nice to do a couple like right after the last lockdown. Well, I'll tell you what, pub gigs I enjoy doing. Pub gigs are really fun because people do actually look at the band and they are like very engaged. I know, of course, it's a lot shorter, and if you're doing an early slot, you can drop your gear off at home, come back to the pub, and spend all the money you just made on beer. And so that's good fun. But I remember as soon as I did a wedding gig after lockdown, I went into it thinking like, oh, I'm probably going to really enjoy this because it's been so long. And then as soon as the first few songs went by, I was like, nah, I'm out. So yeah, I'm very selective about the types of depth gigs I take on now. But yeah, I do feel quite removed from that line of work now.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, just before we move on, because I want to talk to you about training and about your gym
Oh
training. It's a
yeah,
different subject completely. But just before we move on, because I know you've got your course, the sort of 2.0, is that right? Like the Bulletproof 2.0 is coming out like pretty much soon. Do you want to just say where people can go and get that? Just because I know that's coming out. So I know you had so I think you sort of get people to sign up to an email sort of subscription list where they'll get information when it drops, sort of thing. Is that right? Is it still?
Yeah, so there's some big changes coming to my business, which is called Bulletproof Guitar Player. So you can find all my courses and current content at bulletproofguitarplayer.com. But like I just said, there's a lot of big changes coming soon. So I have been offering a subscription service for the past 3 years. That's coming to an end as of the 31st of March, so in 10 days. And the current versions of my Bulletproof Guitar Player courses, which are the ones I made when I was in my final year of uni, those are currently on sale, and they're no longer going to be sold after the 31st of March as well, because I've been for a long time, I've been wanting to give them a makeover, really, because the production quality of them compared to what my YouTube content looks like nowadays it's quite a stark contrast. So I wanted to just remake the courses with much better production quality, better graphics, and make it just a more enjoyable viewing experience for the students. So yeah, there's going to be a bit of a gray area coming up between the 1st of April and whenever it is that I decide to release these new versions, but it's most likely going to be probably mid-May when the new versions are fully ready to go. So in the meantime, if you want to hear about the release of them, you can sign up to my mailing list. If you just go to like any of my recent YouTube videos, you'll find links to my mailing list there. I think there was one. If anyone wants to go on my YouTube channel to find these links, there was a video called "Why 99% of Intermediate Guitarists Stop Making Progress." In the description box for that video, I've linked to a free mini course. So if you sign up to get that, you'll get the free lessons, and you'll also automatically be on my mailing list. So you'll be one of the first people to hear when the 2.0 versions of Bulletproof Guitar Player come out.
Fantastic. Very good. I look forward to that dropping as well. So let's talk about your training, because there's never, I said, a common interest between both of us is the gym. And I know, I think recently you've sort of signed up with an online trainer, and I think that's been going pretty well for you. When does your sort of your fitness and your gym training, when did that all start for you? Was that recently, or have you been doing it for years, or how long?
Well, it's been quite a long journey for me. It started 5 years ago, today's the 21st of March. I think tomorrow will actually be 5 years since the day that I started trying to get in shape. It's kind of funny timing. So yeah, I'll try and keep this concise because I'm aware a lot of my answers have kind of got a bit long-winded, and yeah, we don't have all the time in the world. But yeah, I started 5 years ago trying to lose weight because like all of my life, from a very young age, I'd always been a little bit overweight, not quite into the territory where people would look at me and, you know, say, oh, that's Ross, the fat guy. But I was like always just a little bit chubby throughout school, high school, university. And when I graduated, when I was starting to do the YouTube thing, I went from, you know, I'd never been into the gym or athletics, or I was like negative athletic when I was in school. I just hated gym class. I didn't do any exercise. My diet wasn't that terrible. I kind of enjoyed going on walks, but I hated any real like strenuous exercise, or I wasn't involved in sports at all. So when I was at university, I had a somewhat decent baseline level of physical activity, meaning I would walk to and from the university campus like every day. So I did have that, but my eating habits were pretty bad. And when I graduated, it was like a combination of bad eating habits and now an extremely sedentary lifestyle where I'm not walking really anywhere but the shop around the corner from where I live to buy too much food that wasn't really fueling my body in any sustainable way. So I started to notice myself getting considerably heavier. And I only noticed it after I saw a few photos of myself from a stag do that I went on in March 2018. And I saw how puffy my face was. And I really didn't like the way that I looked. Fortunately, I'd never really tied my self-worth to my body image, but I looked in the mirror and I was like, I wasn't like, I hate myself for having eaten too much and not exercised, but I just looked in the mirror and thought like, I think I can do better than this. Mm-hmm. So I started my first attempts at weight loss were like a lot of people do. They want it all to happen at once. They want it like super fast, like the fastest possible weight loss approach. And so for me, that meant going on a ketogenic diet, which I'll say now, I understand it works for some people, but I don't believe it works for the majority of people. That's just okay. So I did that for a couple of months, and at the time, this was at a time where I did have a bit of disposable income that I hadn't really expected having at that age and that place in my life as a result of things going well on YouTube and selling courses. And I thought to myself, well, I might as well just spend this on something good, like some personal trainer sessions. So I paid for 8 weeks with a PT, 3 sessions a week, just to get myself comfortable going into the gym alone. And I got that out of it. I got what I wanted out of that. You know, I did get to a point where I was comfortable going to the gym on my own, but I was really struggling on this keto diet. Like I did it for 8 weeks, but I was just constantly thinking like, I can't wait for this to be over. And then the problem was, I only did it for 2 months, and then I took my foot off the gas, and I had no like plan B in place for getting off of it. And so as a result, gradually over an 18-month period, I actually gained back all the fat that I'd lost. I'd lost around 2 stone, which was like around 12, 13 kilos. For the Americans, that's like, what is that? 25, 30 pounds, something like that.
Okay, yeah.
A decent amount of weight to lose in 2 months anyway. So I'd lost that, but then, as I said, over an 18-month period, I'd gradually put all of that back on and a little bit extra. And so that would bring me to January 2020. I remember stepping on the scales, and I'll always remember the numbers that I saw. So when I first started, the number on the scale at day 1 was 95.8 kilograms. In January 2020, I remember stepping on the scale and it was 96.6. And I was like, wow, I'm actually almost a kilogram heavier than I was when I started. I'm back at square one, or like negative square one now. And that was a real turning point for me, because at the time when I saw that number on the scale, and I couldn't believe that I'd let myself go despite having made some progress. I had these voices in my head telling me, like, well, you made a bit of progress, good for you, but look what you've done now. You've put it all back on. You weren't an athletic guy in high school, and it doesn't look like you're ever going to be an athletic guy for the rest of your life, so you might as well just give up. And I was having those thoughts, but I was also thinking to myself, like, no, I can do this again. Like, it's going to suck to start all over again, but I will find a way to do it that's going to be more sustainable for me in the long run. And so I figured that out, and I just stayed on track. Throughout the pandemic, I lost something like 23 kilos of fat from, I guess that would be January 2020 to April 2021. So I lost a ton of fat in a sustainable way, where I was on a diet that wasn't really a diet. It was just I was just eating foods that I enjoyed, whilst adhering to a calorie deficit and ensuring that I would get in enough protein. And I started going to the gym again. When the gym shut down, I just decided to do home workouts. I did what I could with got some. I remember resistance bands were very, very on trend when the pandemic kicked off. So I ordered some of those, and I had a kettlebell, and I would just do what I could at home. And then when the gyms opened back up again, I joined a new one, which is close to my flat now, which is the one I train in every day now. Well, not every day, but every week. And yeah, I feel like I had things figured out. And but getting back to, or fast forwarding to now, where I have this online coach, I started working with the online coach because when I got to April 2021, I was at this place where I'd lost 23 kilos of fat, and I was in better shape than I'd ever been. But and the goal for me from the beginning was always to have like the shredded physique, like sort of 10% body fat, visible abs, good lean definition. That was always my goal, and it still is. But I got to a point where in April 2021, I'd lost a lot of fat, but I could kind of tell that like there wasn't enough muscle there for it to look good if I kept cutting. So I got back to Edinburgh because I'd been staying in Orkney over that lockdown. Got back to Edinburgh, and I had some sessions with a coach that I sometimes get strength and conditioning sessions from the gym, and he was saying to me, like, well, maybe you should spend just a bit of time like at maintenance, and just enjoy eating a bit more, continue to train, and just maybe put a bit of a focus on building muscle now. And so I didn't go on a bulk, and I didn't go on an intentional bulk, and I didn't really maintain. I mean, I guess I went from like 73 kg up to like, my weight kind of fluctuated between like low 70s to 80 kilograms over an 18-month period. And it kind of brings me up to January of this year. I kind of realized that although I'd been going to the gym like religiously, it become just this effortless part of my day-to-day life, and something that I really looked forward to. And I'd gotten stronger in the gym, and I had put on a bit of muscle. I'd gotten a bit complacent with chasing that shredded physique, like that goal physique.
Yeah.
And I was starting to recognize similarities to when I had first tried to lose weight, and I had a bit of success, but then I'd gotten complacent and gone back in the other direction. And I was like, I can't let that happen again. Not that I was in any I wasn't thinking that I wasn't worried about like getting fat again, but I was conscious and aware of the fact that I'd just kind of been spinning my wheels, going through the motions,
Yep.
not with training, but with nutrition and, and yeah, the meals I was eating. So there was this guy that I'd been watching on YouTube for a long time, this Irish fitness influencer. His name's Jonathan Clark. I've been watching him on YouTube since I think he started uh, properly uploading during the pandemic, and yeah, I really liked his like very realistic advice on nutrition for just regular people that wasn't as extreme as what a lot of influencers online promote. And so anyway, I'd been following him on YouTube and Instagram for a long time, and I'd seen his posts from his private clients, from his online coaching program, and I thought to myself, I should probably do that. Like I should like I need something else to help me get to where I want to be, because I like knowing what to eat to lose weight and enjoy it in the process, and knowing how to train was like those were two things that I felt like I had locked down. Like I understand how to cut now.
Mm-hmm.
I would understand how to bulk. I understand how to train and progressive overload, all these things. But what I lacked, what was lacking, that was holding me back from getting to where I want to be, was accountability. So I decided to contact Jonathan and ask about hiring him as my coach, because I just wanted, like I said, I didn't need someone to tell me what to eat or how to train. But not that I don't have more to learn, of course, but I just needed someone to hold me accountable
Yes.
for my actions. And the problem that I'd had in the 18 months prior was I would go, I would tell myself, right, let's go on a 6 week cut or a 12 week cut. And I would go through it, and I would get to the end of it, and I'd made progress. And then, but I still wasn't where I wanted to be. And then I would get to a point where I'd have these days where I'd get to my last meal, and I'd think, I'm still a bit hungry. I might just have a bit more and call this a maintenance day, and then go back to cutting tomorrow. Which, if you do that once in a while, is fine. But like I was getting to the point where I was doing that 2-3 days a week, and so the progress was painfully slow, or not really apparent at all. So I just needed someone to keep me accountable throughout a prolonged cut. And so we started on the 16th of January. I actually, well, I started talking to him like right at the start of January, and I gave myself a head start. I started cutting 2 weeks prior to starting the program, but it's been how many weeks is that now? I think I'm on week 10
Okay.
now of this coaching program. So I originally hired him for a 12-week cut, but I've agreed to stay on for the long term now, because the results I'm seeing are pretty crazy. So yeah, these past few weeks, since the start of the year, I've been the most focused I've ever been on my fitness and nutrition and my physique goals ever. And it's at the point now where it just kind of feels effortless, like I'm on autopilot. And I can say with 100% confidence that accountability was the one thing that was holding me back from not getting the results that I wanted. So yeah, that's why I wanted to hire Jonathan, my coach. And yeah, I've not looked back. So it's been great.
No, that's great. I mean, I've a similar thing. I had a coach 2 years ago, and that was when I saw the most results. Like I saw the most results in that period of time, and got pretty lean, visible abs at that point, and yeah, felt amazing.
Mm-hmm.
For the last couple of years since I stopped doing that, I've just been going to the gym probably, I don't know, four or 5 times a week, something like that now. And mixing that with cardio and weights and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm enjoying it, so I'm still enjoying the gym, and that's the most important thing. Like we said about guitar, you got to enjoy it. I look forward to going to the gym, and I enjoy going in the mornings. But there is part of me that thinks that to make the real progress again, having that accountability and a coach, an online coach, it does. It is a huge, huge aspect of it. If you want to keep sort of accountable, it does. It does make a huge difference to the sort of progress. I feel. Do you, when you with the coach that you got, I think you said John. Was it John Clark? Was his name?
Jonathan Clark, yeah.
Jonathan Clark. Yeah. So, do you get like a? Because what I had was like you get like a meal plan. You say what you obviously your foods you like and things like that, but you have like I get like a meal plan and obviously a training plan, and it would change and your meals and things would change. And is it similar sort of thing to that as well? Or is that what you get? Sort of your meal
Yeah,
plan?
it can be. So he when you join his program, you get access to he calls it his nutrition hub. So he has a ton of recipe books, ebooks that you just get instant access to. So there's loads and loads of different meals that you could try out. Nothing against Jonathan and his meals, but I've not tried any of them just because I know I already knew what kind of meals that I like to make on a cut. So I've just been eating the same 3 meals pretty much every day throughout this process. But I am starting to feel myself getting a bit bored of them. So maybe I will venture into his ebooks and take some inspiration there. He has got me on a training plan. So I'm on a 4-day per week upper lower split at the minute. So like I said, I originally paid for 12 weeks. So that's been 3-4 week blocks. So the exercises change every 4 weeks. And so I'm in the 3rd block right now.
Okay. That's great. Sounds really good. It sounds like you're making really good progress. Are you happy? Obviously, you happy at the moment where you are, or are you still sort of you're not quite there yet, or do you have like you said you have like a thing in your mind that you want to get sort of quite lean and sort of shredded? That's the look you're sort of looking for.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you're happy where you are now? You can obviously it sounds like you are seeing the progress, so you seems to be motivating you.
I feel like I'm within striking distance of where I want to be now.
Right.
And yeah, the week by week changes at this stage are pretty crazy. I feel like every day that I wake up now and look in the mirror, I'm like, wow, there's like a visible difference compared to the day before, which is that type of progress, that something that's important to learn if anyone is listening and wants to go on like a weight loss journey, like that type of drastic week by week difference, like all of that can only come with the first few weeks that come before it, where you're not really seeing any real change. So I was looking at photos the other day, like side by side comparisons of week 1 when I started with Jonathan to week 4 or week 6 or something. So like a 4 or 6 week difference between these photos, and there's not really a big change. But now when it's like, if I look at a picture of like week 8 to week 9, I'm like, wow, there's a big change. So it's like the further back you peel the layers, like the more and more apparent the changes are. So yeah, I think I've probably got 4 weeks or so left before I get to the level of leanness that I want to get to before we start going on a lean bulk. So yeah, I'm really happy with where I'm at currently. Still not quite satisfied, but yeah, I'm very happy with the progress that we've made.
Brilliant. Just before we go, have you got any advice for anyone who's looking to get into the gym? Because I know it's, as you said, it's like it's an intimidating place. If you've never been to the gym before and you're interested in getting in and sort of lifting weights and things like that, it is an intimidating place to walk into.
Mm-hmm.
Have you got any advice for anyone looking to sort of, interested in getting into fitness and things like that?
Yeah, well, I think like that was my initial fear about starting to work out. Like many people, it's just going into the gym and being in that environment for the first time. Like you probably know what it feels like. You walk in for the first time and you think that everyone in there knows that it's your first time, and they're like, who's this newcomer who thinks they can come in and lift weights, when it's like no one is thinking that at all. Like everyone is so in their own world. They've got headphones on, they're like in the zone, they're focusing on their lifts, what they're doing, not what other people around them are doing. So yeah, it's not that there are no careful with my language, that there are no dislikable people in public gyms that may give you a funny look. But in my experience, most people that I work out alongside in the gyms that I've been to are really friendly. If you go and talk to them, like most people are willing to like help you out, give you advice, like offer you a spot.
Yeah.
And the like ultimately you have no idea what's going through someone else's head, like whether you're in the gym or you're walking past them on the street. So they might be looking at you and thinking, oh, that's this guy's first day in the gym, or that's this girl's first day in the gym, but they might not be thinking that, and whether they do or not, it shouldn't make a difference to
No.
to the goals that you have in mind. And when I see someone that I might suspect is at the start of their journey in the gym, I just think like, good for you.
Same as me. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
it. And then I move on. Like that's it. So I think most people that you'll encounter in gyms are good people. And guess what? Like everyone had to start at some point. Like nobody walks in already looking like Arnie. So you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I think. Sorry, just to add to that.
Yeah.
I think it can be good if you can afford it to pay for some initial PT sessions just to have someone there to support you, and help you out with form on exercises so that you don't injure yourself. Of course, that's a good way to get comfortable initially. But if you can't afford that, like don't try not to worry about it too much.
Yeah, I agree, mate. And we normally do in our gym. We normally see people coming in after Christmas in January, and you know that it's their first time in the gym in that. But when I see them walking through the door, as you just said, the main thing I think is fair play to you. You know, fair play, and I hope you continue to go. You know, months on, I still see you in the gym, sort of thing. Yeah, and anybody, we've all been through that. Like we've all been to like the first day you go in the gym. It's intimidating. It's not very nice. You walk through the doors and you're like, right, what should I pick up? And what can I pick up? Not make the most noise, and
Yeah.
and not get noticed or like drop a weight or whatever. Like, what's the easiest thing? And some of the machines you look at and you think, what the hell do I do on that? I still think that nowadays. If I go to a new gym and there's a new piece of equipment, I still look at that and go, what am I doing on that? What's it?
Yeah.
What's
How do
that
you get
machine?
in this? Yeah.
Yeah. So we all feel it. So, but yeah, most of it in the gym, as you said, most people are very supportive, happy to help, happy to spot you on certain
Yeah.
equipment. But Ross, as I said, it's been an hour, and I want to let you go. But thank you very much, mate. I've really enjoyed talking to you this morning. And I'm hoping everyone else will, watch this back and comment as well. If you don't mind, if you can keep an eye on the thread, because I'll tag you in it, because people might ask questions after the live, which tends to happen. They might have questions for you.
This is on Facebook. Yeah.
It's on Facebook, yeah. So I'll tag you in it, but people might ask questions after the live, which tends to what happened.
Mhm.
Because if you're a non-musician, you tend to be at work at this time, like if you're 9 to 5
Sure. Yeah.
job, so they tend to ask it, after the event. So just keep an eye on that, as I said, because people might ask you some questions.
Will do.
And anyone has said he wants to check you out, just one more time, your website where they need to go. So
Yeah, bulletproofguitarplayer.com. We've got new courses coming out soon. So yeah, you'll find links on my YouTube channel, on Instagram. On Instagram, I'm at Ross Campbell Guitarist. On YouTube, you just search Ross Campbell Guitar, you'll find me. And yeah, that's about it.
I think anybody, like as I said, I've watched your videos on Instagram, on the reels and things, like just quick videos, really, really, really informative, really engaging. That's a place I would, obviously YouTube as well, but check you out on Instagram because your reels are very good. So
Thank
yeah, really, really great content. But lovely to speak to you, Ross, as I said, and hope to speak to you again soon.
It was an absolute pleasure, man. I can't believe that was an hour. It just flew by. So yeah, we should do it again sometime. I really enjoyed this. Thank you
Definitely,
for
mate.
having me.
Thank you very much, Ross. You take care. Have a
You
good day.
too. Bye bye.
Cheers, Ross.